Hello and welcome to the Kuriaknits podcast. My name is Erin and I'm so glad that you've joined me here today. Today I am joining you from sunny Copenhagen, and if you are new to my channel, this is not usually where I join you from. I'm originally from Southern Ontario, but I'm very grateful to be spending the month of June in Copenhagen. I had never been here before, but I've been here for about 9 days now, and I am so grateful to be just exploring and loving the city. I will have a podcast episode coming out soon where I bring you around the yarn shops of Copenhagen, and there are so many of them. So I'm very grateful to be kind of in the center of the knitting world, it really feels like. I think Petite Knit is based here, and My Favorite Things Knitwear is based here, and it's just so prevalent. I've seen more public knitters than I've ever seen before. I've seen more people in yarn shops than I ever have before, so it's a really kind of unique experience to be able to be in a city where knitting is so much a part of the culture. And maybe that's just my perception because I come from a place where no one I know knits at all. Even older people in my life don't really knit. I think I knew that my grandmother had a knitting phase, but she's not a knitter by any means. And so to go from a place where I don't know anyone that knits to, other than online friends of course, whom I love, to a place where I just see people knitting at coffee shops and at parks all over the place is really cool. It's been a bit of a something to get used to. Less so the country and more so the space. This may not be the most ideal filming space ever, but we are in a studio apartment, a studio Airbnb here in Copenhagen, and it's a really great space. We got it for a reasonable price, which is saying a lot for this area of Europe, which is currently in a bit of a housing crisis, especially in big cities, as is most other places in the world. Back home, Lord knows, there is also a housing crisis going on from one person who's trying to buy a house. But anyways, I think that this podcast is going to be a quick one, just because I don't know how long my husband is going to be out of our one-room house, and I don't really want him to overhear me talking to a camera. So if you join me, like I said, I'm out of the country, which means I don't have access to all of the knits that I usually would, but between acquisitions and just the things that I brought with me to knit on, I think I have enough things to show you, probably more than enough things to show you. I am not going to show you acquisitions that I've made in Copenhagen yet. Like I said, I'm going to have a video dedicated to that, but I am going to show you what I got in Amsterdam. Me and my husband actually landed into Amsterdam from Toronto, and we were there for, I think, 5 days. And I didn't really get to do the whole yarn shop tour there, but I did get to go to the beloved, the famous Stephen and Penelope. So I'm happy to show you what I got there, and let's move on to what I have made. So my first finished object is a bit of a tragedy. So this is what I was knitting on most of the flight and most of the way here. It is Camisole number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And it actually looks fine on camera. I did wear it for 1 day out in the wild, and there are just some problems with it. As you may be able to tell as I'm holding it up, it's huge. I didn't notice, but my gauge was way off when knitting this. I think I didn't notice because I was knitting on the go, and I just didn't bother to check. And because of that, you can tell the fabric is very see-through, and it's just like too big overall. So I had to compensate. You may notice that these straps barely exist, and you can still see my bra. Like, this is large, and I had made it cropped because I wanted to be cropped to wear with skirts, and it just, I think it kind of looks ridiculous. It's just not working. So I'm going to frog this. I have another solution for this yarn. This is Knitting for All of Pure Silk, and I do like the yarn, but I have I think a new solution for what I'm going to do with this. I don't think I'm going to remake Camisole number 4. I do really like the way that it looks, but I don't think I'm keen on the pure silk on its own. It's a beautiful yarn, but I don't think that it on its own is for me necessarily. But I will say I really love this knit. I would just have to size down. I think it's originally in 4mm needles. I would have to size down to 3.5mm needles at least, for how far my gauge is off on this. And I'm knitting another project we'll show right after this, and I just had to size down needles as well. So I don't know if it's my favorite things in general, because I'm usually a pretty middle of the road knitter. I don't know if I've gotten a lot looser or if she is a tighter knitter than I am, but I'm just learning, especially with her camisoles, I need to size down my needles quite significantly. I think that there is like just no way to wear a bra or anything underneath it, and I am certainly someone that is open to going braless, but I like going braless in shirts that would not reveal my whole boob. So that's the situation with this guy. After this podcast, I will be frogging it, and I bought a solution here in Copenhagen to help me along with this. So I will show that in a future video, but don't let me discourage you off the pattern. I think it's beautiful. Other people have had way more success than I have, and a lot of people do really like the pure silk on its own. So I think I might be in the minority on that, and maybe I would like it in a tighter gauge, but whatever, this is not it. Let's stick with my favorite things for a moment here, because she just released Camisole number 6, and I saw it and immediately fell in love with it and immediately had to cast it on. And thankfully I am in the lovely city of Knitting for Olive, so I could immediately go out and get the yarn that I needed for it. So this is a sneak peek of something that I did get in Copenhagen, and it is the yarn for this. It's looking so good. I've done so much on this. This has been, I think, 2.5 days of knitting. Like very much not a lot at all. This camisole is heavily inspired by Kuriaknits. She also has a podcast on here, and I will link it down below, but she was one of the testers for this lovely camisole, and she knit it in a lovely blue color, and I could not get the exact color as she had. But this dove blue, the lighter blue in here, I could get in one of them, and then the other one I had to go for a different color. So let me just look up on my Ravelry page what I am knitting with, because I've already forgotten, because my brain is mush. So this is knit with one strand of the Knitting for Olive merino and one strand of their pure silk. And in the merino, I got the dusty whale, which is the lighter color, and then in the pure silk, oh no, dusty blue whale is the darker color, and the dove blue is the lighter color. And I think Caroline Knits on her channel was explaining that because Knitting for Olive did their huge sale in which the proceeds went to victims of the war in Ukraine, that they are a little bit lacking in stock, and because of that, the matching yarn for this cotton is not there. I was a little skeptical at first about this, only because I wasn't sure how a cotton merino and a silk blend would knit up, but I am in love with the fabric that this is making. It is so, like, it has all the best qualities of everything. It has the lusciousness of silk, the softness of cotton and merino, and I am just so in love with the way that this fabric is knitting up. I am knitting a size large, and my gauge at the beginning was spot on, and it just recently loosened up. And so I've never had gauge issues like this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just had to put my needle size down. It's knit on a 4mm. I'm now knitting on a 3.75mm, and that seems to have fixed it. My gauge is off by a stitch and a half, so it's not the end of the world. And with a camisole like this, it's I'm knitting a size, I think by her size chart I would have been between this large and the extra large, and I'm knitting the large. So if it was a little bit big, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But I just wanted to be a little bit more bang on, especially after what just happened to camisole number 4. But yes, I am loving the way that this is looking. The fabric is much more dense. It's not looking so on camera. This lighting's not the best. I'm kind of like both backlit and forward lit, and so it's creating this weird lighting profile. So yes, This is Camisole number 4. I think I'll finish it within the week, and I'm so excited to have this as a finished knit. So the next whip is one that I had shown in the previous episode and one that I have made a decent amount of progress on, and it is this. It is the Aosta Cami, and you will notice a theme. I think everything I'm showing is summer knits. So it looks like this. This is by the Knit Purl girl, and it is knit in the We Are Knitters cotton. So it looks like this. It is a beautiful, very, very light gray color. I had this with a kit, and I didn't end up liking how the cardigan that came with the kit was knitting up. I frogged it. I had this yarn sitting in stash for about a year, and it's what was called for the camisole. And I have been dying to try one of Knit Purl Girl's knits for a long time. She is a fellow medievalist, and so we've got to stick together. And so yeah, I'm thrilled to have this camisole. So as you can see, I've done quite a few inches on the side here. I can also already tell that this is going to be a bit of a looser camisole on me. I don't know what I'm doing with gauge. This gauge seems right on. I keep on checking it, so maybe it's supposed to fit a little bit looser. I need to check what the positive or negative ease was supposed to be, because I don't seem to be nailing it with these summer knits. I'm really struggling with it. But anyways, I know the straps are way too long. I should have waited to attach them, but they are about, I don't know, 2-3 inches too long. They should be about here. But in the original design, they are tied. So perhaps I'll just tie them at the top and call it a day. I've seen other people do that, and I mean, it's perhaps not the prettiest, but it would save me having to rip this out. But we want finished, beautiful finished objects, don't we? So I don't know. But I really love the design of this. Again, it's just more open and airy, but the fabric, the lighting on this is going to make everything seem see-through, isn't it? But fabric on this is a bit more dense. I can wear a bra under it without problem. And I think it'll be really great for tucking into skirts. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I'm hoping to get this finished within the next few weeks. I am going to a conference, and I think that this would be a lovely top to wear underneath the only blazer I own, which is also gray. So I would love to have another gray top to wear with just some like black bottoms. I think that this could look very professional in that way, and so I think that this will be perfect for that. And for that reason, because I plan to wear with pants, I will probably make this a bit longer. I think I brought enough of that cotton to make that happen. But you know what? There's probably going to be some surprises along the way. So we're just going to roll with punches. I'll probably just keep knitting the body until I run out of cotton, but I think I have more than enough. I will say the one thing that surprised me about the Knit Purl Girls patterns is they're very size inclusive, which is not what surprised me. What surprised me is how small they started. They start at what I would consider like an XXX small or an XX small, like very tiny sizing. So if you are someone with a very small body, that is awesome for you. But if you are someone that gets some sticker shock when you have to like go up a size, just beware about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way that she sizes things. She sizes things like A to G, for example, but I was like the 6th size in F, and I'm used to being like a 3rd to 4th size. So I had to take, I was having like a bad body day to begin with. And so I had to take a moment with myself. Like, these are based on sizes, and the sizes do not equate anything about you. It is just based on the number of your circumference. And so I will just say that about the way that they're graded. I think it's amazing that she has graded it for both smaller bodies and larger bodies. Nothing wrong with that. I was just kind of, I think, shocked at how small they go. But obviously we need that inclusivity there as well. So like, no problems about it, but I will just say, if you are having a bad body day, try not to let the shock of you being a higher letter than you would perhaps otherwise think alarm you. And I also have noticed with UK designers in general that they tend to go smaller rather than larger. And I don't know why. I would be very interested. I know that they don't get like the sizes that people are knitting when they sell their patterns. Like, you don't write in what size you are, but I'd be very interested to see like what the stats are of like how many people are knitting each size, and perhaps I'll be proven wrong and like half the people are knitting a size A or B, but yeah, it's kind of like those shops in the store that say, oh, we don't have plus size because there's no plus size people, and yet the brands that have plus size, most of their sales are from plus. It's one of those situations where it's like, it's probably because a lot of people are demanding those sizes and I just don't see the demand. Anyways, I'm just rambling on. I think her size inclusivity is wonderful and important. I think there was just a little bit of sticker shock there. Regardless, I think I knitted a size too big anyway, so maybe the sticker shock is all my fault, which is, you know, entirely possible. Traveling, I probably say this in every episode, but the PhD already makes your brain go a little bananas, but traveling and trying to juggle the PhD work, I feel like my brain is completely elsewhere at all times. So anyway, the Aosta cami, which is wonderful so far. The last width that I have to show you is another tank, who's surprised. So I brought 3 kind of sets of yarn, and the last one I had brought had been in my stash since I had tried to make a ranunculus with it, and it is this. Look how pretty that is. It looked way prettier in the skein, and I think it actually looks prettier knit up. It is a really lovely yarn. It is Musselburgh Milo yarn, and it is 35% linen, 65% wool, I think, or maybe the other way around. But it is a wool linen blend, and I had initially knit this up into the ranunculus, and that was great for someone else, but it was something that I knew that I would never wear, and so I caked it back up, and I'm now using it to make a tank, which has not gone too far, but it looks like this. I'm really loving the way that the colors are knitting up here. So this is a bit bold for me, but I think that in a tank, this is something that I would wear with like some shorts or something in the warmer weather. This is a mix between a pattern and some self-drafting. So I'm basically hacking the Tip Top Tank pattern by Emily Bolduan. And I will pop that down below. I was basically looking on Ravelry for a sport weight tank to just get a circumference, and I am adding this ribbing up the side here, and I am going to be self-drafting from basically when you split the sleeves, because I would like a different upper shape than what she has, and I don't quite know what that's going to look like yet, but I'm pretty confident that with the rows for the circumference down, I will be able to do that. So I'm really liking the way that this is turning out so far. I think that this will be somewhat cropped as well, because almost all of the tops that I wear in summer are cropped. I'm a high-waisted kind of gal. I think it fits my body shape the best. And so yeah, I'm anticipating this being cropped as well, but I'm liking this so much more than what I had for the ranunculus. And I think the reason for that is it's much denser fabric. I'm knitting this in 3mm needles, and excuse me, the ranunculus is knit up in 6mm needles, so that's a huge difference. And I think this yarn is just a lot more suited to something like this. I've seen people make sweaters in it. They do have solid colors as well, but I was feeling funky on the day that I bought this, and I am just really pleased to be using this up. So, and it's been a joy to work with, honestly. It is so soft. I will say the one weird thing about this yarn, can I find it? So on the spots where it's white, it has been acting like an unspun yarn in a very odd way. Like sometimes when it's just white, it's like fluffier for some reason. It makes no sense. And if I pull it, oh, I'm not getting it now, but it would just pull away. And so when I've been knitting, it'll just completely just fluff right off. And I can make it go back together, but like, why is it doing that? It's so weird. Yeah, very bizarre, I'd say. I've never had a yarn that was like spun in some places and unspun in other places. I don't know. And I don't know if that's indicative of all the yarn or if I just got like a weird skein with this guy. I am working with 2 different skeins of it. They are hand-dyed skeins. I think they're of the same dye lot technically, but because they're hand-dyed skeins, in theory I should be alternating, but I haven't been able to tell a difference between them. I did a different skein for the ribbing as I did for this section, and honestly I can't tell any difference. And holding them both up in the light, I also can't tell a difference, so I'm not worrying myself with it. Will I come to regret that? Possibly, but as you've been able to tell from my whole camisole fiasco that I've been dealing with all of my knits, we're just rolling with the punches. we're just gonna see what comes, come what may. All the expressions, we're just letting it happen. So yeah, this is the final whip that I've been working on. This is the only one that's basically pure stockinette, and yeah, sometimes you just need that / want that. And I'm using those chiagus I got, and yeah, they are better. They are definitely better. So do I regret getting them? Kind of, because now I have needle envy, and I don't want it. I don't want it. Anyway, let's move on to some acquisitions. Now, I have been doing a lot of yarn shopping, but I did some very specific yarn shopping in Amsterdam. I went to the beloved Stephen and Penelope. Look at that. It is so nice. The store was beautiful. It was in a beautiful area of Amsterdam. It's very accessible. If you are a tourist to Amsterdam, it's very kind of central. You'll be able to get there quite easily. It was busy, and they had a lot of staff there to help. So I would say if you're looking for something specifically, lots of people there to help you with that. I was surprised that they didn't have the kits on display. From when I went on their website, they seem to have a lot of kits for Stephen Westknits specifically. If you didn't know, this is Stephen West's shop that he co-owns, but they didn't have any of the kits out. But I'm sure had you said, hey, I want to make the slip extravaganza shawl, they would have gladly said, yes, let's create a kit for you. I didn't ask because that wasn't what I was there for, but yeah, the kits that you see online aren't in store. And I would also say that don't go there expecting very affordable yarns. They tend to stock a lot of the European big name yarns and a few American ones as well. A really lovely, beautiful curated selection of yarn, but I would say most of the skeins of yarns were about €30 each. So don't go there expecting bargain yarn brands. There's no drops, there's none of anything like that. They did have a couple brands which were more on the affordable side, I will say, so don't let me give you the wrong impression. But definitely go there with the thought of, oh, I'm going to get a special skein of yarn today, rather than I am going to get, I don't know, my budget sweater quantities. So anyways, if you're in Amsterdam, I highly recommend checking it out. Even if you're not there to buy yarn, it is well worth seeing, well worth taking a look around. This pouch, this kind of project bag that I got, I think was around €6, and I really wanted it as a memento, but I also think it's a really cute project bag to hold a small to mid-sized project. They also did have some really unique notions and really beautiful stitch markers. I'm kind of full up on stitch markers. They didn't have the kind that I was looking for, but beautiful like circular brass stitch markers that I was looking at. And so I highly recommend checking those out if you're there. I got 2 skeins of yarn while there. I'll start with the one that's perhaps less exciting. And it is Westwool's own bicycle yarn in this yellow color. So this is their own brand of wool. I figured I'd get something that's central to Amsterdam, and obviously this is. Their bicycle yarn is 10% textile and 90% Falkland merino. And it is 390 yards per 350 meters. So it's approximately 100 grams. And I got this as the final skein in a Shawlography. I have been in love with that pattern since it came out in October and all the hype was around it, and I just absolutely think it's beautiful. It's like boho, and I think it would go really, really nice with the aesthetic of my house back home. So I am lovingly bringing this home to put in my Shawlography. I have the other 4 colors already. I am excited to share it with you when I do get started. I know I'm very behind on the times, but I really want to knit it up and use it as a decor piece in my house. I really have no interest in wearing shawls, but I really love the idea of having one in my home or having one draped over a couch. Maybe not with my dog, but definitely there's a wall in our home that's in my knitting space that I would love to fill with some knitting. And so that is my inspiration behind knitting a Shawlography, and this is the final color. I really hope it fits. I have compared a different yellow, kind of like this yellow, I think, maybe it was a different yellow, to the other colors, and I think a yellow is what fits best. But if it doesn't fit, then I'm sure I can find another use for this yarn in a color work perhaps, but I think it's a really beautiful yarn. It's like a nice mix between rough and soft, and this was €22, and this was in the color Bicycle Glow. The next skein of yarn, the last skein of yarn that I got, is a bit more of a special one, and it looks like this. Look at that. It has beautiful mixture of burgundies and grays and blues and purples and browns, and it is from the brand the Urban Purl. It's a brand that I never heard of before. This is their Luxe High Twist Socks, 80% merino, 20% silk, 365 meters per 100 grams, and it is in the brand, or in the colorway Urban Legend. This is €28. And I plan to make a Musselburgh hat with this. Surprise, surprise. I think it's just like a beautiful, more neutral hand-dyed yarn, which is definitely what I'm looking for. And I think it's just going to knit up to make the most beautiful hat, and I think it will match all the other outerwear that I wear normally. So this is what I ended up getting in Stephen and Penelope. It was a beautiful store, and I highly recommend checking it out if you are ever in Amsterdam. Now I'm going to end this podcast with bringing you on a walk that I took just yesterday in Copenhagen. There is a park in which alpacas roam free, and I also stumbled across some sheep while I'm there. So please join me for a walk in the park to see the alpacas. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to ramble on a little bit more with you guys in the next episode, which should hopefully be an episode of me knitting through Copenhagen. If there's any yarn stories that you would love to see in Copenhagen, or actually Stockholm specifically, then please leave them in the comments below, and I will do my best to get up there and to review them for you guys. But until then, I will see you next time. Bye!